Go ahead and subscribe, please.
This case takes place in Las Vegas in June of 2014. It was a quiet Sunday in Las Vegas on the 8th of June. Inside a CC's Pizza restaurant, the lunchtime rush was taking place. Officers Alan Beck, 41 years old, and Igor Soldo, 31 years old, were sitting at a booth, oblivious to what was about to unfold. This ordinary day was about to erupt into total carnage and violence, an event which still haunts Las Vegas to this very day. Officers Beck and Soldo were both in uniform, and they were regulars at this particular CC's Pizzeria. The two partners had served Las Vegas Metro for years. Beck, nearly 14 years, and Soldo, 8 years. They were known as dedicated family men, just enjoying their break before getting back to work. But shortly after 11 a.m., an unassuming man entered the restaurant alone. This man was 31-year-old Jerad Miller. Jerad walked in casually, asked a CC's employee where the restroom was, blending in as an ordinary customer. In reality, he was scouting out his victims. He took note of the two officers eating pizza in the booth. After scouting his way through the building, he exited out the back door. Outside, Jerad met up with his 22-year-old wife, Amanda Miller, who was waiting nearby. The young married couple had arrived on foot, carrying concealed firearms and wearing backpacks loaded with ammunition. They were far from ordinary diners. They were radicalized, heavily armed, and ready to make a violent statement. Jerad had even packed supplies for a prolonged fight. The Millers carried a shotgun, multiple handguns, extra magazines, and bizarrely, they even wore adult diapers under their clothing, evidence that they expected a long standoff without retreat or surrender. In their minds, this day was the start of what Jerad chillingly called a revolution, and the unsuspecting officers were about to become its first targets. At 11:22 a.m., Jerad re-entered the pizzeria, this time with Amanda. The pair pushed through the doors, heading straight for the booth where the unsuspecting officers sat. The restaurant security camera silently recorded the unfolding horror. Without warning, Jerad Miller drew a handgun and the first shot rang out. Jerad had walked up to Officer Soldo and shot him point blank in the back of the head. He collapsed forward onto the table, never having a chance to even fight back. A truly cowardly kill. In an instant, diners froze or ducked for cover under the tables. Officer Alan Beck reacted in shock. 1 second, he was enjoying his lunch. The next, his partner and friend was now dead on the table. Beck began to stand, reaching for his own gun, but the Millers gave him no chance. Jerad immediately turned the handgun to Officer Beck and shot him in the throat. Both Jerad and Amanda then opened fire on him, filling the 41-year-old officer with multiple gunshots. In a matter of seconds, both officers had been killed in a brutal execution-style attack. One witness recalled her utter horror. They said, "I didn't know what to think. I realized the gun was going off, and then I just dived to the floor." The two officers died almost instantly from their wounds. The Millers, however, were not quite finished yet. Jerad and Amanda grabbed the officers' bodies, dragged them out of the booth and onto the floor. From one of their backpacks, they pulled out a yellow Gadsden flag, the historic American Revolutionary flag with a coiled snake and the slogan, "Don't tread on me." This flag is not a flag of hate in itself, but some extremists do use it. The Millers draped the yellow flag over Officer Beck's body. They also tossed down a swastika symbol onto the flag. The two also placed a piece of paper onto the officers' bodies. Scrawled on that piece of paper were the words, "This is the beginning of the revolution." This message was both chilling and clear. What had just occurred was, in the Millers' minds, not a senseless murder, but the beginning of a war against government authority. The Millers wanted everyone to know their motive. They proclaimed the start of their long-desired uprising, even as innocent people cowered in fear at the horror that they had just witnessed. The two then stripped the officers of their police-issued handguns and their spare ammunition magazines. This despicable ambush at the pizzeria was only the first act of their deadly plan. Satisfied that their grim message had been delivered, the Millers then fled the pizzeria. As quickly as they had come, they had gone. After the Millers left, witnesses called for emergency services. The first calls hit the police switchboard at 11:22 a.m., reporting that 2 officers had been shot at the pizzeria. Within minutes, Las Vegas metropolitan units raced to the scene. Arriving officers and paramedics were met with a devastating sight. Fellow police officers found their friends dead on the floor. EMTs carefully checked for pulses, but tragically there was nothing that could be done. The 2 men had been ambushed so suddenly and shot so viciously that they succumbed almost immediately. Las Vegas police leadership rushed to the scene as well, bracing for what was rapidly escalating into a citywide emergency. The assistant sheriff arrived and was briefed as to what happened. 2 officers executed, Nazi symbols left on their bodies, and a note heralding the revolution pinned to one victim. But more urgently, the killers were on the loose. All units were alerted with descriptions of Jerad and Amanda Miller. Over police radio, an eerie transmission went out. Be advised, suspects took officers' weapons. Suspects declared revolution. Use extreme caution. So, who were Jerad and Amanda Miller? And why would they commit such a heinous crime? To understand the horror, we must delve into the background of these perpetrators, the young married couple driven by anti-government extremism and violent delusions. Jerad Miller was a 31-year-old man from Indiana with a history of run-ins with police. In his younger years, Jerad had been convicted of felony vehicle theft and other offenses. It was these experiences that led to his hatred towards law enforcement. He married Amanda in August of 2012 when she was just 19. Acquaintances described Jerad as angry, obsessively anti-government, and quite volatile. Amanda was a quiet, impressionable girl who would do anything to make her man happy. In early 2014, the Millers left Indiana and moved to the Las Vegas area, seeking a fresh start. They moved into a downtrodden apartment complex where they quickly made an impression, and not a good one. By all accounts, Jerad's political ideologies had curdled into extremism. He embraced the extreme far right and often spent his time ranting about government oppression and Obama. The couple began purchasing firearms and survival gear. Social media posts by Jerad grew more militant and extreme. He was going down an incredibly dark path. In early June of 2014, Jerad ominously wrote on Facebook, "We can hope for peace. We must, however, prepare for war. To stop this oppression, I fear can only be accomplished with bloodshed." It reads like the ramblings of some angsty, edgy teenager. However, it's clear that he did mean this. These were not empty words. Jerad truly believed a revolution against the government was coming, and that he would be the one to spark it with violence. The couple also steeped themselves in white supremacist and anti-police rhetoric, seeing law enforcement as the enemy. A major turning point for the couple came in April of 2014 during the high-profile Bundy Ranch standoff in Nevada. This standoff between federal agents and armed militiamen supporting rancher Cliven Bundy attracted anti-government activists from all around the country. Jerad and Amanda were eager to be part of what they saw as a patriotic resistance, and so they traveled to Bunkerville. However, even among fellow militiamen, Jerad's behavior was too extreme. Bundy's own son, Ammon Bundy, confirmed that Jerad and Amanda were eventually asked to leave the ranch after just a few days. They were seen as just too radical, too extreme. Those who were there that day said that Jerad's presence made the others feel uneasy. The Millers were kicked out due to racial conduct. Jerad left, but now he was more furious than ever and felt even more ostracized from society. In this moment, he became an outcast, even amongst those people he considered to be on his side. They went back to Las Vegas, and back in Las Vegas, the Millers frequently spoke about making a violent change. Neighbors later reported that the couple often talked about murdering cops. Yet despite this, nobody alerted the authorities. In the weeks before the shooting, Jerad acquired a pistol-grip 12-gauge shotgun and a large amount of ammunition. Amanda didn't have a criminal record like he did, so she legally purchased firearms that Jerad could not. They stockpiled hundreds of rounds of ammunition, including armor-piercing bullets. In the early morning hours of the 8th of June 2014, the day of the attack, the couple stayed over at a friend's apartment. Jerad was giddy and agitated, laying out swastika emblazoned stickers and even U.S. Army insignia. He bragged about his intentions, openly saying, "I'm going to put one of these on every cop we kill," showing off the swastika symbols to his horrified friend. This friend later admitted that she just thought Jerad was bluffing. She believed that he would never do such a thing. In hindsight, this friend said, "I should have called